We have to talk about how cryptocurrency community is making it difficult for North Korean hackers to profit. And apparently there was $30 million seized, and that came from crypto game Axie Infinity. So it's been estimated that North Korea linked groups have stolen approximately 1 billion of cryptocurrency from DeFi protocols. And the Lazarus group stole over 600 million and carried out hundreds of transactions across different blockchains to launder funds. And the Axie Infinity team has just announced results from the investigation following the theft of over 600 million from the Ronin network. And the seizures represent approximately 10% of total funds stolen in Axie Infinity. And this was all done by Chainalysis crypto incident response team. They played a big role in the seizures. Did you guys want to show the graphic so we can show the audience how this looks when you
graphics?
Got to see those graphics. Got to see those graphics. Yay, we got it. But basically, this is what it looks like. It looks like a diagram that you would draw in elementary school, but it is very, very effective. But it basically proves, like, no matter how much you try to hide bad transactions or bad things you're doing, if you have the right tools and the right know-how, you can figure out who's doing bad things. So when we're talking about the Tornado Cash being banned in the U.S., it just goes to show that they didn't need to ban it. They just needed to use different techniques and hire the right people to kind of take a look at this. I want to get Will's take since he is nodding his head.
I'm nodding way too much today. You guys are calling me out. Chainalysis stays winning. That's the interesting thing to me here. A lot of people do not like Chainalysis. A lot of people do not like any of these crypto tracker platforms, Ellipsis or Elliptical, Chainalysis, whatever you have. They don't like them, right? Why don't they like them? Because there's this privacy desire within crypto in general. People don't like it when their transactions are being watched, but that's the nature of blockchains. You're basically always able to see where things are going unless they go through a mixer like Tornado Cash, or you're really, really good at breaking these transactions up and sending them to tons of different wallets and then bringing them back together so you're able to cash out into physical fiat. In this case, we see that the US government and Chainalysis were able to track all this money and were able to, I guess, get some of it back. Though that was not detailed very explicitly in the article itself, how they were able to seize the money. They did show pretty in-depth, especially with that graphic, showing like how the Ronin hackers went from a token to ETH to a different token, then to Bitcoin, and then they cashed out from Bitcoin on different exchanges. And that's typically how these things are done, right? You just keep swapping and swapping and swapping, and go to different wallets and different wallets. You use lots of different DeFi protocols, and then at the end of the day, you find some sort of looser exchange that will allow you to move into USD or a USD-based token, and then cash out from there. It's really hard. It's really difficult. You have to be watching all your transactions. You have to make sure there's enough liquidity to get that money out, but they're able to do it. Then you have Chainalysis come along and find out what's going on here, and they track it down. They're able to get back some of that money. 10% is not a ton, and hopefully that money does go back into some people's hands who lost money during the Ronin hack of last year. I think it was actually March of 2020, so about 6 months ago, or 2022 rather. I hope they're able to get that money back, but we'll see what happens with that. The process is always so long for the US government to put money back in the hands of people when they claim it from bad actors. To me, this story just tells you about how hard it is to use crypto still for illicit purposes. I know lots of people like talking about how, oh, you can hack someone, you can go steal from a bridge. Those are just headlines though often, right? A lot of times these are big hacks and numbers. That money just sits there. I mean, look at the Bitfinex hack from 2016. It was like $4.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. That money just basically sat in a wallet and nobody was really able to use it. And then the US government came along a few years later, was able to find who did it, or allegedly who did it. We're still finding out in court, and then take it. So I think this story tells you how hard it is to use crypto for illegal purposes. We'll see what the mainstream media take is on that. Sandali, I throw it back over to you.
Thanks, Will. I was also going to say, like, when are the investors going to get their money back? But since you brought it up, I'd like to also talk a little bit about, the business of blockchain analytics right now. Blockchain analytics has become like such a hugely competitive field in the last few years, and they're always looking for ways to kind of stand out in terms of the quality and the types of products and services they offer, which, like you said, goes against the kind of ethos of, these things have to be private. We saw Elliptic announce earlier this year, like the next-gen cross-chain tracking product. We saw TRM Labs launch Russia sanction screening tools this year. But it's these that kind of high-level investigations that grabs headlines, kind of, these big sums being recovered after multi-million-dollar crypto exploits, and North Korea and the Ronin hack was a big one. So I'm definitely, like you said, amused by kind of the triumphant tone in this report. They're definitely making the most of this, and it's the first time ever that crypto stolen by North Korean hacking groups has been seized, and definitely winning on this one. I'd also like to note, as you said, the Chainalysis report mentions Tornado Cash by name as one of the tools used by North Korean hackers in their 5-step money laundering routine. So that's interesting too, and not so much in favor of the mix as a reputation at this time.
Yeah,
Wendy,
I want to jump in there really quick before we close, if we can. On the Tornado Cash thing, I want to talk about that because it is interesting that Tornado Cash was cited in this, and we also have this lawsuit at the same time. I think it just tells you how important and how difficult it is to define privacy with cryptocurrency, right? Can I use Tornado Cash for donating to Ukraine? Yes, I can. That's a good thing. Can I use Tornado Cash for also mixing laundered funds from the Ronin hack? Yes, I can also do that. Both purposes are definitely very different, but one is good, and they're both like, it's difficult to say like I want to cut one off just because you can use it for something else. And that's where this idea of blockchains as being very passive, neutral technology stacks comes about. And hopefully we have legislators that look at it and understand that is the case, and they start going after the bad actors instead of the technology stack. But Wendy, I'll give it to you.
I agree with what you both said. There's a pro and there's a con to all of this. And I just really, really value my privacy and want them to lift that ban because Tornado Cash is important. People deserve privacy. Yes, there's always going to be bad actors. And realistically, if we're going to introduce a CBDC to the US, we're going to have to kind of allow some of these things to occur because I want to keep my transactions private. I don't want people knowing when I'm going to Target, what products I'm buying, etc.